coming up in the next 1.5 hours. Tonight, Ghana's military boss, Chief of Defense Staff, testifies in ambulance trial, dismissing and confirming certain reports earlier put out that the third accused, Richard Jakpa, was dismissed dishonorably from the armed forces. We'll bring you more on what transpired in court.
And also coming up tonight on this edition of Hot Issues, we'll be taking you to the courts where the other stories we have for you include.
We'll bring you that story about SNIT firing back at former Chief Justice Sofan Akofo over comments that the trust intentionally runs down assets to eventually sell them out to cronies. Details shortly.
And later in the bulletin, we return to the minority in Parliament, which is petitioning Shraj to probe what it calls offensive recruitment into Ghana's security agencies.
Details of these plus the latest from the press conference by the Electoral Commission, which has been addressing the media about its upcoming mop-up exercise. All of these plus sports and business in the next 1.5 hours. For now, though, Grace Hamwajiman is here with a summary of the news. Grace, what do you have?
Hello, Beatrice. Let's get straight into it. The Supreme Court is being urged to restrain the Ghana Revenue Authority from proceeding to implement tax waivers granted to certain companies under the One District, One Factory policy. Legislators believe the parliamentary memorandum based on which the Finance Minister sought the approval of the House for the waivers is unconstitutional. The king and overlord of the Gonja Kingdom, Yabonra B. Kunuto Jeuswale, is proposing for the establishment of an annual conference of kings and chiefs in northern Ghana to focus on the collective development of the north. According to him, traditional rulers have a responsibility of partnering with other stakeholders to contribute to the development of their respective traditional areas. The Auditor General is reporting that Ghana is failing to prevent and reduce solid and plastic waste pollution in its coastal environment. This, the Auditor General notes, leaves the country far from being able to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal targets of preventing and reducing marine pollution. The Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice has been petitioned by 3 members of Parliament to investigate alleged unfair recruitment into the security agencies. The alleged recent recruitment have been conducted in an arbitrary manner and contrary to due process. They therefore want Shraj to intervene. And finally, an Accra High Court has adjourned to October 22 one of the 3 cases challenging the anti-LGBTQ bill recently passed by Parliament. Private citizen Paul Boama Sefat contends the processes used by Parliament are unconstitutional. That's it for the news summaries.
Thank you very much, Grace Hamwa Jiman. And let's bring you details of a story, and it's a case that is bringing people who would ideally not testify in court to appear before courts and, in effect, the public. I'm talking about the Richard Jakpa ambulance trial that has had the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Thomas Opon-Pepper, standing before the judge at an Accra High Court today. This comes weeks after a widely circulated letter asserted that the third accused, Mr. Jakpa, was dismissed from the Ghana Armed Forces based on persistent offences and acts of misconduct. Noble Crosby Annan was in court for us today. He joins us with all the details. Noble, first give us an understanding of what transpired in court today.
Well, it was a good day in court, Beatrice. You know that from the last hearing, this hearing should have happened on a Thursday, but because of the budget reading, that did not happen. So it had to be heard today. Today, the Chief of Defense Staff, like you rightly mentioned, was there. He was flanked with a lot of people from the Ghana Armed Forces. We also saw the minority leader and his deputy, Emmanuel Makofibua, was also there, as well as the third accused, Richard Jakpa, was there. And then the judge was also there. The case was called, and it was proceeding very smoothly. Lot of cross-examinations. The CDS was invited to mount the witness box. He did. He sat, and then they began asking questions. One thing that stood out during the cross-examination or the examination was the reason for the dismissal or the release of Jakpa from the Ghana Armed Forces. Now, you know that the secretary to the Armed Forces during the last sitting of the court said that he was released dishonorably. He was not released honorably, essentially saying, well, the CDS, when he came today, confirmed that indeed, per the documents available to the conduct of Mr. Richard Jakpa when he was a member of the Ghana Armed Forces, his release was not an honorable release. In fact, they go ahead to mention reasons why, what can make somebody's release honorable or otherwise. The person can be able to use his military rank in his personal life after the person leaves the armed forces. That is if the release is an honorable release. But you know, Richard Jakpa is not using his military rank. That is adding up to the reasons or confirming as to why he was not released honorably. And that happened during the cross-examination between between the Attorney General Godfred Dame and the CDS, and we could take listen to exactly what the words were between the two of them.
Now, if we look at the attachment, it has various notations on the manner in which a person is released. Is that not correct?
Yes, my lady.
Now you see that Mr. Jakpa, the notation by the regulation under which he was released, did not say honorably released. Is that not correct?
Yes, my lady.
Now, from all the factors and circumstances regarding Mr. Jakpa's release from the Ghana Armed Forces, would you say that he was honorably released from the Ghana Armed Forces?
My lady, as per the document that is on record, he was not honorably released.
Now, you see again from SBB frame that he was not placed on the retired list. Is that not correct?
Yes, my lady.
And he is also not permitted to use his rank in civil life. Is that not correct?
Yes, my lady.
And indeed, if he had been honorably released, he would have been entitled to these things. Is that not correct?
Yes, my lady.
So that was the CDS there interacting with the Attorney General who was cross-examining him. Noble Crosby-Annan is still in the studio with us. And Noble, beyond the confirmation that he wasn't released honorably, there was also the bit the CDS seemed to want to give some clarification, because at the point he was saying, well, he didn't, or he wasn't entirely released because of these misconduct, as it were, but also at the point the man had lost interest in this whole army business.
Well, essentially, what happened was that the armed forces has denied claims that misconduct was one of the reasons why the former soldier Richard Jakpa was released from the service. I know it may sound a certain way, but it happened. So it happened in court today. But you know that prior to today's hearing, the release letter presented and tendered into evidence by the AG had cited misconduct as a reason why the third accused was released. Now, during the CDS cross-examination, his lawyer quizzed the military top boss on whether misconduct was a basis to which he responded in the negative. So, Lieutenant General Thomas Zopompepra also denied ever citing any court order. We'll get to that. But he essentially said misconduct was not the only reason why he was released from the Ghana Armed Forces. So, he clarified that the discharge resulted from specific misconduct identified after disciplinary proceedings. However, in the cross-examination, his lawyer questioned the top boss, and then he said that that was not exactly what happened, trying to provide some background information as to what really transpired.
And he did not confirm how the letter got to the AG, did he?
Well, the letter that on how it got to the Attorney General, there were initial concerns from Dr. Bamba, a lawyer also, when he was cross-examining.
Representing who exactly?
Dr. Bamba, I believe, was representing Dr. Kislato Forsing. So during the cross-examination, he was concerned as to how the Attorney General got the letter, asking how possible is it for a letter that is supposed to be confidential to be held close to the chest of the military be made available to the Attorney General. And the Attorney General, while objecting to it, said it's not wrong for another public officer to transfer document from one office to another. And that was a little disagreement between the two of them, but they were able to solve it and they moved on.
Crosby, I want you to hold on because we do have on the line with us private legal practitioner Justice Abdullah. He joins us live on the phone. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us on Hot Edition.
Good evening.
I suppose you had the opportunity to listen to the CDS whilst he gave his testimony, being cross-examined by the AG. Did you get a sense of contradiction, as it were, in the submission of the CDS today?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. The contradiction as to what?
As to the testimony he gave, because at one point he seemed to be confirming that he was discharged, as in Richard Japa was discharged as a result of these misconducts that we were privy to based on the letter that was released. And at another point he said, well, it wasn't that alone, there were certain misconducts, and even goes on to say that the man eventually, one of the main reasons was also because he lost interest in this whole army business. And that's why I'm asking whether you think that the CDS gave some bit of contradiction in the submission.
Oh, well, I think that is a judgment that all of us can come to a conclusion of. But I think it is good to point out that in determining whether a person has been dishonorably released from the Ghana Armed Forces, there are criteria that are set out by their own regulations. And so it is quite easy to point out that if a person gets dishonorably released or honorably released from the armed forces, and when we say that you are released, it means that you are not entirely going on retirement. It means that for other reasons, you are terminating your relationship with the armed forces. And when you do that, depending on the circumstances, you go home using whatever last title you had, and you get to also take along some of your retirement packages. And so I, for one, did not understand why this had to be an issue, because it is easy to verify whether Richard had all these benefits at the time he was leaving the armed forces. And this issue can easily be verified with or without a letter purportedly coming from the armed forces, which has become the subject of all these discussions. In fact, I think it is because of the nature of the letter and the circumstances in identifying whether Richard actually left honorably or dishonorably that you find the chief of defense struggling to really point out exactly what happened, because I think for two reasons: either they do not have accurate account of the event, or for whatever reason they are unable to verify these set of facts. And I don't know whether at the time of the incident involving Richard Japa, whether he was in the top hierarchy and whether the records are appropriately kept, for which reason he shouldn't have difficulties accessing these. So I think the difficulty stems from these circumstances. Otherwise, this shouldn't be a difficult thing at all, from what I think.
So I hear you.
There should be a list of retirees, and that book register is kept appropriately for those honorably discharged and those dishonorably discharged. And that's why you can find a civilian, for instance, referring to himself as Captain RTD, and then his name follows.
Aside from confirming the other bit of he not giving clarity, as it were, do I also hear you questioning the rationale behind bringing this whole letter up in this conversation in court?
Absolutely not, because I think we all understand the rationale is to point out that Richard Japa has a dishonorable character. He's not an honest person and all of that, and his credibility is sought to be impeached by the Attorney General using this part. Otherwise, this is not the crux of the issue involving Richard Japa. The only reason why this is an issue is because the Attorney General is trying to point out that this is not a man that we can trust.
Now,
And that's why the whole case has turned on whether or not he was dishonorably discharged.
it looks like both parties are trying to prove a point, because you heard Richard Japa was the one who made allegations that the AG met me in my uncle's home and all of these, and that's what led to where we are. But now you have a military official confirming or saying this, confirming that letter. Now you have the boss of the military now also partly confirming supposedly the bad character of Richard Japa. What does this mean from where you sit for this case moving forward?
So at this point, if we assume that the AG has been able to make that case out, let's remember that the AG is not on trial. The AG might have done all the things that we condemn, that we know are wrong, and I do not think anyone would even defend the misconduct of the AG in relation to the alleged recordings and the video and audio and all those matters. However, at the end of the day, what we are up against is whether or not Richard Japa is a credible person, whether or not he is involved or was involved in the alleged criminal conduct involving the ambulance saga. And so the judge sitting on this whole evidence at the end of the case would be assessing the matters solely based on the evidence against Richard Japa to determine his guilt or otherwise, and not determining the misconduct or otherwise of the AG. I think we should remember this at all material times. We might have tried the AG for all the wrong reasons, we might have condemned him for all the wrong reasons, but the ball is actually with Richard Japa, and as to whether we walk home with Richard Japa at the end of the day, or we see him to whatever sentence and cost the judge might pass upon conviction, if any.
Having said what you said, though, and that's my final question, I've seen a former National Security Coordinator questioning how this letter, for instance, got to the Attorney General, because in the first place, the person the letter is about wasn't even supposed to say. Do you think that beyond this substantive case we're looking at, that's something that could be taken up against the AG in any way?
I think that is why Dr. Bamba sought to reveal as to why and how the AG obtained the letter in the first place. I wasn't convinced with the responses of the Attorney General, but of course, because they were in court for a particular reason, I think they all had to move on to focus on that aspect of the case. But I think that knowing Dr. Bamba, and if there's something really sufficient to warrant a proper interrogation of the letter and its leakage or otherwise, I do not think that they will let it go. They will definitely get to the bottom of it if there's anything untoward.
All right, we'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Justice Abdullahi, private legal practitioner, sharing his views on this. Thank you for speaking to us. And also earlier, Noble Crosby, a man who monitored this in court, joined us with details. Yes,
certainly. And he gives us an indication that tomorrow the trial continues. So we'll definitely be keeping close tabs on that. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition. And we go on to one of the headlines we have for you this evening, which has to do with the fact that the management of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, has told former Chief Justice Sophia Ekufu that she made an unsubstantiated allegation regarding the botched sale of the hotels. We'll bring you the specifics of what SNIT's statement is and what they actually are responding to regarding the former Chief Justice's comments. But it comes on the back of the fact that a few weeks ago, SNIT had to abrogate the intended sale of its stake in 4 hotels to a member of parliament and also an NDC official who owned the Rock City Hotel. And it's because public pressure from the civil society and some labor organizations had been mounted on SNIT to stop the sale. In fact, had it gone on, the country's economic activities would have come to a halt. Based on that, in an interview with TV3 and Alfred Okansi, who is host of Ghana Tonight and also host of Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, the former Chief Justice has been expressing some very strong thoughts on what she makes of SNIT's decision to sell, or in this time reverse its decision to sell its stake of the 4 hotels. Let's listen to the former Chief Justice.
This conversation recently about the botched SNIT Rock City deal, well, it didn't go through, but then again...
Thank God. God bless the unions.
The labor unions.
Yes.
You were irked about it?
Irked about what?
The entire
transaction, the purported transaction.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Conflict of interest is conflict of interest.
And you
can't be the judge and the jury. You can't be the lawyer and the judge. You can't be the litigant and then you are also sitting, after you've given your evidence and everything, and it's time, your lawyer has done the submission, and it's time to determine the outcome. Then you're now going to go and sit among the jury, and you are part of that.
But the agreement minister says there was no conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest is not defined by the individual. And sometimes, yes, conflict of interest when you're managing standards, it's part of performance standards. And when you're managing those are called ethical standards. When you're managing ethical standards, sometimes it is simply perception. Will a reasonable man in the street, in law school we would say, will the reasonable person on the Latebi or Koshi bus, they don't have Latebi or Koshi buses anymore, but will the reasonable person on the Latebi or Koshi bus, if you were to tell them of this, what will they say about it? And if you can surmise that they will say, sir, that it smells, then it smells. And when you're a public person, just because there's no law that says you cannot do it, does not mean you should do it. Even in the Bible, it says, I can do all things, but not all things are good. Not all things are good.
But even SNIT justify it.
Oh, don't mind them. Of course they will justify it because they have run down the hotels, and just like in the public sector, a lot of public properties have been run down just so that the values will be run down, and always at the end of some cycle or the other, they do sweetheart deals and do distributions among themselves. SNIT can say I've defamed them. I don't care.
Well, they said they were doing this in the interests of you and I.
Oh, definitely not in I didn't think it was in my interest. And if they had come to ask me, I would have said no. Is that the only person who can buy these shares of SNIT?
And that is the voice of the former Chief Justice Sophia Akuffo. Now let's give you what the SNIT's position is on regarding what she said. So you could tell from the latter part of her submission that they run down these facilities, or probably almost any facility that SNIT manages, only to sell it to their cronies. And that is what has stoked this response from SNIT. And it goes, I'm going to read portions of it. It says, SNIT responds to Miss Sophia Akuffo's comments on sale of hotels. The attention of management of SNIT has been drawn to comments made by the former Chief Justice Ms. Sophia Akuffo on TV3's Ghana Tonight's program on Thursday, the 25th of July, 2024. The management wishes to respond as follows: that the former Chief Justice's claim that the SNIT hotels were run down deliberately in order to devalue the assets and distribute them among themselves is a serious accusation and rather unfortunate. We wish to emphasize that the allegations of deliberate mismanagement of SNIT hotels are false and undermines the integrity and confidence in the pension scheme. Allegations of this nature without substantiated evidence create unnecessary tension among stakeholders and potentially distract the public from the constructive dialogue needed to address genuine issues. Contrary to the allegations, SNIT puts in various measures over the years to improve the performance of this hotel investment before deciding to sell part of its shares to a strategic investor. SNIT restructured the ownership of the hotels, brought in private hotel management companies, made changes in management and the board where necessary, provided financial support, including the funding of maintenance and capital expenditure to make the hotels more competitive. And so let me just jump to the last three. So from 9, it says the allegations therefore are false and misleading. SNIT looks forward to engaging its stakeholders to advance the cause of the pension scheme. And finally, we wish to assure pensioners, contributors, and the public of our commitment to managing the assets of the trust in a manner that will ensure the long-term sustainability of the scheme. And it is signed by the management of SNIT. Details of this is on our website as well, where you can get to peruse it for yourself.
Indeed, and if you're watching us, we're also showing you that letter on Facebook. Let's bring you some other stories. And this evening, the minority in Parliament has petitioned the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SRAJ, to investigate what they call the ongoing secret, unequal and unfair recruitment by the government into the Ghana Immigration Service, Ghana National Fire Service, Ghana Police Service, Ghana Prison Service, and the Narcotics Control Commission. We do have Dennis Pwaberi, my colleague. He joins us in the studio. You've gone through that petition. Dennis, just bring us the highlights, really, of the concerns from the minority.
Well, so this is a case where the minority in Parliament are making allegations against some state institutions in respect of unintended recruitment into some state agencies, including the Ghana Prison Service, the Narcotic Control Commission, the Ghana Immigration Service, and then the Ghana National Fire Service. It is their contention that this intended recruitment is not in line with law, so they think that it has to be investigated so that they get to the root cause of it. Their substantive matter is that it does not afford all Ghanaians equal access as has been intended by our constitution or our laws. They say that it is within the mandate of SRAJ to, in such matters, investigate. So they've quoted the law, and it is very express as to what should be done when it has to do with recruitment into the public services. They cite Article 218A and B, and if you would indulge me, I will just read the B bit for you.
Go ahead, please.
Where it says that the functions of the Commission, and in this case we're talking about the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, shall be defined and prescribed by an Act of Parliament and shall include the duty to. The B says that the duty to investigate complaints concerning the functioning of the Public Services Commission, the administrative organs of the state, the armed forces, the Ghana Police Service, the Prison Service, insofar as complaints relate to the failure to achieve, and now mark these words, a balanced structuring of those services and equal access by all the recruitment of those services or fair administration in relation to those services. So this is where they mount their argument on to say that for the fact that they're only seeing this in one of the newspapers.
Chronicles, I think they quote
yes,
that
Chronicles,
newspaper.
and a press release by the Ghana Police Service itself. They think that it should have been advertised well in the dailies with all the recruitment criteria and who qualifies. So on that basis, they think that what is already ongoing, they say these numbers are up to 11,000 people. And for that matter, they want SRAJ to investigate same. There are already allegations amongst the MPs themselves. The MDC side of the House says that this is only an attempt for the MPP to use this as an opportunity to put in what they call party tax into the security services. The MPP on the other side are also making allegations at the NDC, saying that they are also presenting candidates to be considered for that particular recruitment. So it's a vexed matter actually before Parliament. But now it has moved forward to SRAJ, and SRAJ is expected to investigate this particular matter. Their reliefs essentially are that these state institutions should be compelled to use the right approach for the recruitment, and that those who have already been shortlisted should be, the criteria for that shortlist should be published, and that's the right thing should be done. This is a petition that has been submitted and signed by the Honorable Member for Elembele, that's Amakofi Boa, Honorable James Agalga, that's MP for the Busa North, and then Peter Lancheni Tobu, MP for Wa West.
Thank you very much, Dennis Berry, for bringing us details of that petition by the minority. Let's hear a member of the minority, member of parliament involved in this petition, Akachi South MP Bernard. All right, so we'll be bringing you that later, but we have on the line with us a security analyst, actually security consultant, Richard Kumado. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, Beatrice.
Let me first get your initial reaction to hearing that the minority has petitioned Shraj on this issue.
Definitely, it's a position they have taken, and you cannot take that away from them. Without considering the substantial issue, they believe that it goes beyond Parliament, and they would need a third-party government institution with the requisite to investigate issues such as this for them to come to the fore. So I believe that is the reason why they want to stop the position of Shraj on this particular matter.
Is it the case, really, that political parties use the recruitment as a tool to win power or elections? Really, that seems to be the argument the minority is making in its petition.
I want to stay away from that, but what I want to say is that security agencies all over the world, each year, people will resign, people will retire, people will die in course of duty, and there's always a need to replace them. The issue we are having here in Ghana today is that the approach we are using is not right. And that approach is so biased, is so prejudiced, is fraudulent. And that is why people are raising issues. For us as security consultants or security practitioners, with almost 30 years experience in this particular field, what you do is that once we allow these processes to be taking place each year, year in and year out, within 5 years, 10 years, you may have law enforcement agencies that are weak, that do not have the requisite capacity and the capabilities to function at the level where you expected them to be, because we are pushing in party agents, dog for the boys, people without the requisite understanding and qualification to be pushing there. And it's also the case that parties in power struggle to create jobs, and they use some of these avenues to push in the numbers so they can propagate a gospel saying that they have created this number of jobs. And you have heard it all over the place from MPs. To that regard, then somebody will say you are using the process as a political tool. But for me, the question I always ask is that when and where did we go wrong that today politicians and political parties have become recruitment agents and units when it comes to security internal recruitment?
Right, Mr. Kumado, Martin here. Thank you for your time. My concern is, shouldn't the security agencies themselves be concerned? Is this not an indictment on them that anytime they need personnel, political parties need to take over, and then it becomes a political banter, when clearly maybe the police service need X number of people for specific assignments or to be deployed, especially in an election year? Why do we allow politics to come into security services and their recruitment?
Thank you, bro. I know the anger you will go, and I'm happy you brought this anger. You and I, we have been on this issue for over a decade now. God knows why. You remember one of the days I said the police should be recruiting on the need base, where they needed the requisite number, the requisite people with the particular skills to be recruited. And Martin, you remember I've always used myself as an example. When I was joining the BNI, we were over 4,000 that started the process. After almost 3 years of background checks, they picked only 4 of us. And I agree with you totally that it's an indictment on the police, it's an indictment on the military, it's an indictment on the BNI, an indictment on almost law enforcement agencies, that they will allow themselves to be bastardized in the manner they are being bastardized. When you go to the police today, we have political police, protocol police, and professional police, and it is not serving the right purpose. And so anybody thinking the way you are thinking, I think I will agree with that one, that we should take politics out of it, and we should not really be asking questions on politics. It should be more about competence and professionalism and the ability and the capacity of the police heads, Dan Parry and the CDS, to be putting their feet there and say, this is not allowed, we will not tolerate it. And they rather should be going to strike and be asking for help instead of political parties. Other than that, become NDC, MPP, political parties that will not end as well.
Pleasure talking to you as always. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Richard Kumado. Right, and Richard Kumado is a security consultant there. But clearly, this is an issue of national concern because the recruitment process, which has been politicized or has now become a political football, could affect you. Maybe your relative is going in, or maybe your relative is already in. When we paint all these recruits as Party A or Party B recruits, it has an implication on our security services in general. So what do you make of it? How can we jump this hurdle and ensure that we have, competent people running our security services, or at least giving us protection where needed? We'll be happy to hear your thoughts on our various social media handles.
Indeed. Let's speak to Ernest Nogbe. He is Member of Parliament for Ashaiman. He's also a member of the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Okay, we seem to have lost Ernest Nogbe there, and we're just going to have that conversation indeed about really the concern of that fantastic answer from Kumado.
Richard Kumado, yeah.
Indeed.
And it clearly is an issue of concern, considering the fact that, and this is not just one security agency, it cuts across. So even from the statement that the minority sent to Shraj, they are looking at recruitment into the Ghana Immigration Service, the Ghana Fire Service, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Prison Service, and even NACOC, which is a National Narcotics Control Commission, formerly Narcotics Control Board. So it means that almost every arm of our security services and the military, it is becoming part of a political promise. So people will say, when I come into power, I'll give you, X number of recruitments, a quota, which I think is becoming quite concerning. So we actually, as a nation, need to look at it critically, because it is unfortunate the accusations leveled against them. When NDC is in power, they say it has become an NDC security service. When MPP is in power, the same is said of them. That should not be what it is.
And I mean, if you monitor conversations, both NDC and MPP, how heads of certain security institutions have been, criticized, all because probably they were appointed by the other political party, and then one is running the name of the person in the gutter just because of who appointed that individual.
And I mean, a few weeks ago, somewhere last week, when the deputy IGP was named by the president, a number of political actors, although they say they know the man is competent for the position, they were still looking at him through political lenses. And that in itself doesn't bode well for the service and then also the role he is expected to play. So a lot of questions still remain unanswered as regards how Ghanaians are recruited into the security services. We need to properly deal with this subject.
And we'll return to it as soon as we are able to get in touch with the Parliamentary Committee on Defence and the Interior. But ahead of that, striking colleges of education have still not called off their strike, despite rumors that they may call off the strike. Now, CTAC is demanding a roadmap from the interested parties, after which it will meet with National Council and the constituents to call off the strike. Remember that last week, the Employment and Labour Relations Ministry and the Ministry of Education, as well as CTAC, signed the part of the agreement to resume work. However, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and the Finance Ministry are yet to sign their part of the deal. CTAC withdrew all services on Wednesday, that's last week Wednesday, after the Education Minister directed the Controller and Accountant General to withhold their July salary. Take a listen to a member of the training teachers who spoke to us earlier.
Okay, so what's your concern? Why this briefing? Press conference?
Yes, it has become necessary for us to hold this briefing because we've done a couple of engagements to the government side and also to the side of CTAC to try and get solution to this long-standing problem that has been bedeviling colleges of education. To interest you to know that over the years, CTAC has always been going on strike. It has become like something like a norm. Every semester, every academic year, the Colleges of Education Teachers Association would have to embark on an industrial strike. This poses serious academic threats and then challenges to us as students, because our students in the colleges, anytime there is a strike like this, our academic activities comes to a halt, and then a whole lot of challenges facing us because of this strike action. Last year, the strike hit us in August 2023, which left many students trailing in their courses because there was no teaching and learning for about 6 or more weeks. And then we are on that road again, that our tutors are on strike again, and we are not, for the past 6 weeks or more, we are not seeing a headway. The strike keeps to have continued, and there's no teaching and learning in the colleges. Students don't really know when even the strike action will be called off. And then we have activities such as examination, orientation exercises, other co-curricular activities that are supposed to happen within the semester, before the semester ends. The semester is scheduled to end on the 7th of September 2024. And as it stands now, we still don't know whether our teachers will be back from strike. The strike they've been back on the 14th of June. The colleges resume its academic activities on the 9th of June. And as we talk now, the strike starting from the 14th, we still don't know when it will even end.
And you heard a member of teacher trainees who spoke to us earlier. Let me remind you that the decision to withhold the salaries of the striking CTAC members was actually given by the Ghana Tertiary Education Committee. It was a commission. It was that commission that directed the Controller and Accountant General to freeze the salaries of members of CTAC. Let's return to that story about recruitment into the various security agencies. We have Ernest Nogbe, MP for Ashaiman, also member of the Interior and Defence Committee of Parliament. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Okay, we seem to have lost him there, but that's certainly an issue that indeed we need to bring some answers to. And Martin, as you were saying correctly, it's not the first time really. Both MPP and NDC have been accused of doing this.
We shouldn't be playing, the general concern is that we shouldn't be playing political football with the security of the nation. You see, issues of security shouldn't be seen through political colors. And so that is why it is quite concerning. We'll try and see if we can get a better connection to Ernest Nogbe, who is one of those who have asked Straj to look into the matter. But in the absence of that, you, the ordinary Ghanaian or the very Ghanaian listening to us, should also let us know what you make of it and how, in your thinking, this particular issue can be resolved amicably.
Martin, let's try this for the last time. Hopefully Ernest can hear us and the line is good. Mr. Nogbe, if you can hear us, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Most grateful.
We've been trying forever to get you. Thank you very much for joining us. You're a member of the Interior and Defence Committee of Parliament. Is this something you're worried about as well?
Well, thank you, and good evening to your listeners as well. Yes, we are worried about the state of affairs in the security services. We are also worried about how the government want to hijack recruitment services or recruitment of personnel into the services without recourse to the various stakeholders, especially the service heads. And when we quizzed the minister and so on and so forth, we were told that these were a backlog of 11,000 people from 2021 that they are expecting to recruit this year. We are saying that no, this is a no-no, because our security services, it's an agency that we need to take a very good care of, because these are the people who provide us with this security and etc. And so if anything of that sort would happen, then we have to go through the process. We have to reopen. We have to advertise the enlistment, the process for all meaning Ghanaians, the youth who are willing to enter into the service, to apply. When they apply, you go through all the 16 regions and then do the recruitment, other than saying that we are taking care of the backlogs. As we speak now, we don't know the status of the backlogs. We don't know the number of people. And we don't, because when you talk of backlogs, in 2021, you advertise. And so people might have bought their forms based on their age and even their health condition. As we speak now, You cannot assure me that all these people are still the same as we are purporting to be now.
Mr. Nogbe, when you read a statement from the petitioners, they seem to give the impression that this recruitment is happening because the MPP wants to use them ahead of the elections, like recruit foot soldiers for the 2024 general election. And you're sounding like it's all something new. It may be backlog, but are you saying that during the administration of the NDC, there wasn't anything like protocol recruitment, which has been familiar with both NDC and MPP?
It has never happened in NDC's administration. Protocol recruitment of 11,000 personnel, it has never happened. Not even under NDC, it has never happened in the history of Ghana. That you are going to cater for backlogs. People who applied in 2021, we are going to cater for them in 2024. Once you don't know their age, you don't know their medical status as you speak now into the service.
But during your government,
you can only do that for political expediencies, for political reasons.
But during your tenure, there were allegations of recruiting people for political reasons. You're saying you didn't hear of any of that?
It has never happened that we recruit 11,000 personnel into the service. No. Yes, during our tenure of office, we advertised. You advertised for people to apply, and that was what we did from 2009 till date. That's what we did. Don't forget that in 2009, before NPP exited in 2008, they advertised and they recruited some military, recruits. And when NDC came to power, we have to annul it because they didn't go through the right process. And as we speak now, you are talking of 11,000 people recruited in August 2024 in an election year, and you have not advertised. You did not do the advertisement for all meaning Ghanaian, everybody who wants to join the service to apply.
So you're not denying
you are attending to backlogs.
You're not denying that kind of recruitment. You're only concerned with the numbers.
I am denying it. I said it has never happened under the NDC. Yes, you may have recruitment that is advertised, and you may have officers that will be given maybe 2 slots, 1 slot as protocol, but not at this time, not at this magnitude where there will not be any advertisement.
Right. So Mr. Nogbe,
to that effect.
Your concern now is 2. One, the timing of it is sensitive, especially because we are in an election. We are too close to an election, and then also the numbers you think are in excess. 11,000 human beings into the services is quite concerning. Those are your major concerns, isn't it?
11,000 human beings, even if it is 20,000 human beings that are going through the right channel, the right process, that are given to the security heads, the police, the IGP, the immigration director, all of them to take care of, and not to be done at the behest of the Ministry of Interior.
Right.
We are good to go. We are not against the recruitment, but we are against the modus operandi, the process at which these people will be recruited into the service.
And my final question would be: are you concerned about how recruitment generally into the security services or agencies are done? Do you think it is time that maybe you and your colleagues in Parliament legislate for it to be done solely by the security services, so we don't have any political interference?
That has not been done all over the years. This Fourth Republic, during President Ronnie's time, we all gather, myself, I've been involved before, we all gather at the stadium for us to go through the process. President Mills's time, President Kufuor's time, it has happened. This is the first time it is happening because the 1992 Constitution says that regional balance. You must recruit into the services by regional balance. You must go through all the 16 regions to recruit, not to sit in one office to maybe call people on phone to go for medical. People who have not gone through the physical recruitment, and you are saying that they should go for medicals, you don't know their status, you don't know their height, and you are just sending them for medicals. No, it has never happened under this Fourth Republic. This is the first time it is happening. And don't forget also, since NPP came to power, since 2017 to date, they have only advertised only once.
Fortunately, Mr. Nogbe, forgive me. Fortunately, you're a member of the Interior and Defense Committee. Just very briefly for us to wrap up our conversation, you have an opportunity to do something about this. Is this something you're going to take seriously? Because if I heard the answer to the question my colleague asked you, it looks like it's already been in the system. What are you going to do to help in its implementation?
Well, that is why I think last week we held a joint meeting with the government, the minister himself, and we have all agreed that this recruitment should be advertised and go to all the 16 regions for the enlistment. You have to go around all the 16 regions for the enlistment. We are for it, but you don't sit at one place to just recruit people by calling them on phone.
We'll end it here. Thank you very much, Ernest Nogbe, Member of Parliament for Ashaiman, also a member of the Interior and Defense Committee of Parliament. You're still here on Hot Edition on Sri FM. Michael Ogbodu is standing by with business. Don't go away.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition. Coming up this evening, government airs to settle debts owed contractors to improve financial situation of banks as non-performing loans exceed 24% as of June 2024. We'll hear from banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etuahene and Michael Obodu. Please stay tuned. Thank you so much for your time. Banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etuahene has urged the government to settle debts owed contractors to improve the financial situation of banks in the country. This call follows a recent report by the Bank of Ghana revealing that non-performing loans have exceeded 24% as of June this year. Speaking to 3 Business, Dr. Etuahene says the development is not surprising.
The arrears, we had a non-energy arrears of 35 billion and the energy arrears of 1.6 billion. If you aggregate the two, we're talking about close to 58 billion arrears. So the IMF country report advised the government to be very cautious about arrears. So those of us who have been following the arrears, we are not surprised about what is going on because we haven't treated the contractors' debt, which is about 35 billion, and service payment, 35 billion. And the energy 1.6 billion, which is about 2.3 GDP. All these things have been going on over the period, but it came to a point very well in December 2022, and then as we did the DDEP, it has resurfaced again.
So that was banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etuahene speaking. Now, the Ghana Extractives Industry Transparency Initiative, GATI, is calling on the government to maintain regulatory requirements for extended periods, facilitating easier planning for businesses. Co-chair of GATI, Dr. Steve Manteo, notes that multinational organizations have expressed concern about the frequent changes in regulatory requirements, such as taxes and levies, which hinder their operations and planning.
The companies are not looking so much for incentives. They are looking for regulatory predictability. So you don't wake up one morning and the rules governing your operations are changed and then it affects your bottom line. If I make my projections based on current economic circumstances, and then I wake up in the morning and in the budget, government has introduced a new tax, and in spite of the stability provisions I have, in my contract, government imposes this new fiscal terms on me, then it affects my plan. It throws everything off gear. And so what the companies actually want is more stability in terms of the application of the rules of the industry.
That was co-chair of the Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, GATE, Dr. Steve Mantea. Away from that, economist Dr. Asiedu-Dartey has lauded the National Democratic Congress, NDC, for its commitment to establish a Women Development Bank. Professor Nano Pukwajiman, who is running mate for the party's presidential candidate, said the bank will be established by the next NDC administration to empower 1 million women in the country. Speaking to 3 Business, Dr. Asiedu-Dartey proposed a public-private partnership for the bank to operate effectively.
If you go around the country, you realize that women dominating businesses go to our markets, our lorry stations, even in our neighborhoods, our convenience stores, they are all being run by women. But these women are at a disadvantage in accessing capital from the bigger banks. So providing a bank purposely to serve women businesses is a great initiative. The overall economy will improve. However, to be able to have the magic that we will need, such a policy should be decentralized. It shouldn't just focus on only Accra or the big cities. It should have branches even at the rural level, so that our market women in the rural areas could also have an opportunity. And again, such a loan should be interest-free. Interest-free will encourage women to keep going to these banks for their loans. Also, with such a policy, it would be good for it to be private-public partnership, in the sense that unless government could own majority shares, maybe 60%, and private ownership being 40%.
So that was economist Dr. Asiedu-Dartey bringing an end to the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next is sports.
Development Show Host of the Year 2016-2017.
And the winner is John Hughes. Check.
Hi, my name is Johnny Hughes, your community rights advocate, and I'm still on the quest to bring smiles into your communities with Community Connect on 3FM 92.7. Join me this and every Friday morning at 9 a.m. right here on 3FM, and together we will solve the problems bothering your communities.
I know your program is a program that always get a result. Myself, I'm a witness to that.
What can we do to help your community today in terms of education, health, sanitation, security, and all the issues in between from your community's perspective? Tune in to Community Connect every Friday morning at 9 a.m. as we get interactive live on radio and on Twitter at 3FM 927 and on Facebook at 3FM 92.7. Community Connect, helping solve your community problems.
Busy on this frequency, 92.7 3FM.
Well, let's have sports here on Hot Edition, and starting from the Olympics. Well, something interesting happened just about 24 hours ago when commentator Bob Bellard had to be suspended by, that is his countryman. Now, he works for Eurosport as a commentator, and he has been dropped after he said that Australian female swimmers who competed in the 4x100 meters freestyle relay were hanging around doing their makeup. The BBC News reported. Now, Team Australia's Molly Callaghan, together with their other teammates, were celebrating their gold medal on Saturday when Ballard made the comment. The Canadian Olympic Committee and Canada Soccer are appealing FIFA's 6-point penalty to the national women's soccer team. Also in the wake of a very difficult scandal that came up after they spied on their opponent at the Paris Games. FIFA dug the point on Saturday as part of a punishment that included a fine for Canada Soccer and the suspension of 3 coaching staff members for 1 year. A team analyst was caught using a drone to spy on New Zealand's practices before the start of the competition. The Court of Arbitration for Sports Special Olympic Court in Paris has confirmed that it had received the appeal, officially kicking off the process. So that is also the latest coming in from there. Now let's quickly move on to the Ghana Olympic Committee. And the president, Bao Fusini, has been speaking about the difficulty the team has had in making sure that the athletes were in very good shape for the Olympics.
Getting the athletes to come to the competition was very, very hectic, because they still have obligation from the schools, and we couldn't have taken them away from the schools. So we always have to go around and talk to the coaches, talk to the school authority to see which competition is ahead of them, which competition can the school allow them to come and compete for Ghana. So these are some of the things that we went through. So when we went to Bahamas, after the first setbacks, so the technical team together, the chat was also there. We had to have a Zoom meeting which lasted more than 4 hours. The meeting ended around 3 a.m. in the morning, how to fix it before the next day. And that we, thankfully, because we came together, both the technical team in America and technical team in Ghana with the administrator, we were able to figure out something. And the next day, everyone saw what actually happened. What actually happened was the byproduct of what happened the previous night. Because if we hadn't come together to figure out what was the reason, talk to the athletes, talk to the coaches and everybody, and we all came out to the same conclusion that we should maintain the team, but the team should go back to the practice early morning before the afternoon race. That was what we did, and that was how Ghana qualified to the Olympic Games.
Well, very difficult one in there. President of the Ghana Olympic Committee, Bao Fusini, Athletics Federation Committee, I should say, giving us a bit of update on that. Now let's get into football, where Henry Wellington, who's the assistant coach of Ghana Premier League champions FC Summertex, has opened up on his journey with the club. The former assistant coach of Accra Tufuk and Asante Kotoko says a very good preseason, the 2023-2024 season, ensured their Ghana Premier League success.
I've been with the team for the past 3 seasons, and this coming season is my 4th season with the team. And I was with the team when we won we qualified for the Ghana Premier League, and at the same time won the Ghana Premier League this time. So I must say it's a very big achievement for me. I feel very happy anytime I see myself with the team, or even when we are training, or moving around, people calling me and congratulating me, I feel very happy. I must say it wasn't so difficult like that, because we had a very good preseason, and I must say we didn't have a very good start. But when at week 14, when we won a certain match, then from there, we saw that we can do something about the league. Because if you see last season where Mediama took off from, and they won the league. So we also say from week 14, when we are on top, we can do something.
When they're on top, they can do something. But the head coach of the team, Nuruddin Amadu, says the team is very much inexperienced, but it definitely took time to go through the paces with them to ensure that victory was theirs. He hopes to repeat the same thing as they go into Africa next season.
The secret was hard work, good stretches, motivation, and good support from the investor, and then our loving fans. The management, everybody played his respective role to ensure that we were champions. I realized that some of my boys were inexperienced, so I had to draw a plan and see to it that we get maximum from our home matches. And I think that we only lost 1 match. And so getting some few points away also helped. But most of the points were won in a home game. And so we hope to improve in the coming season. Yeah.
hoping to improve in the upcoming season as they have the Ghana Premier League and other matches to play. Now, moving on to some more local stories. Now, the Ghana Premier League fixtures for the 2024-2025 season has been officially released by the Ghana Football Association. The biggest football game on the Ghanaian football calendar is the super clash between Asante Kotoko and Accra Hearts of Oak. And in the first round, they're expected to face on March week. That is 13, and that is on between the 13th of December and the 16th of December. Asante Kotoko Hearts of Oak at the Barbara Sports Stadium, with the second game expected between the 4th of April to the 7th of April at the Accra Sports Stadium, and that is going to be March week 30. Well, for Asante Kotoko, their first 5 league games against Karela United and Swatreman at home. And then they have Young Apostles at home, Brekum Chelsea away, and then Accra Lions at home. For Accra Hearts of Oak, they have Baseke Holy Stars at home. They have Heart of Lions away, Bechem United at home, Nations Football Club away, and then Ediana Football Club also at home. So very interesting games that will be coming up. Also, Holy Stars, who are the newly promoted side, will be playing Accra Hearts of Oak in Accra on the opening day of the season. Young Apostles will play against Nswatraman, the FA Cup champions, and Vision Football Club will play against Brekum Chelsea in Tema. So these are the games that will be coming up. Let's get into the foreign stories and then get into some transfer news. Arsenal have finally revealed that they have completed the sign of Ricardo Calafiori. It is understood that the Gunners have forked out an initial £34 million on the versatile defender, with a further £4 million to be paid in potential add-ons. Calafiori on completing his move to London.
Did you choose Arsenal? What made you say yes?
A lot of things. I spoke a lot with the coach, with Edu. They convinced me, but I was already convinced by myself, and I think it's the best project for myself for the next years. I think I will improve as a player, and I hope also we're going to win.
So that is from Ricardo Calafiori, new Arsenal defender, and the 22-year-old defender was a member of the Azzurri squad at the Euro 2024 after a season full of impressive performances at the heart of Bologna's defense. Now, for Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta, he is going to solidify his chase for the Premier League title, and he can only do that by keeping a very solid defense and a very good attack to ensure he wins maximum points in all the games.
So this is the objective, and from there let's see where we get. But today has to be the target: win every single game, earn the right to win it, and have a biggest probability on the opponent to win the games. And when we have difficulties, we still are better than the opponent. That's the objective of the team.
Well, that is the beautiful thing with the team, and Fulham are also looking at getting the very best from Arsenal in signing Emil Smith-Rowe for a £34 million fee. Well, Smith-Rowe hasn't had any good time at Arsenal in the last couple of years, having very limited play time. He wants to move away with Arsenal's choke midfield and the possibility of Miguel Merino coming in. So that is the latest in there. And finishing off with some tennis news from the Olympics. Novak Djokovic dominated rival, that is Rafa Nadal, at the start, then held off a comeback attempt to win 6-1, 6-4 at the Paris Olympics in the second round on Monday. The 60th and the likeliest last head-to-head matchup between the two tennis greats. So the two tennis greats have had a very wonderful time, but this time around, Rafa Nadal wasn't successful. He's still in the group, hoping to make more points to progress to the next stage. But for Novak Djokovic, he stands in a very good state to continue. Nadal, however, has partnered with that is Carlos Alcaraz to play in the doubles, where they are doing well. That will be all for sports here on Hot Edition. My name is Kelvin Owusu-Ansah. Beatrice continues with Hot Edition.
Thank you very much, Kelvin Owusu-Ansah, for bringing us the latest in sports. You're still here on Hot Edition. Let's bring you this ahead of Campaign Trail and step into the world of Dewa 539 for your chance to win big with Dewa Direct and Dewa Chop Money. With Dewa Direct, dial star 446 hash, pick 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times or 400 times your stake and win cash every evening at 7 p.m. and on Sundays at 6 p.m. Early birds love Dewa Chop Money. At 10 a.m., dial star 446 hash, choose 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times or 400 times. Play at dewa-nla.com or dial star 446 hash. Need help? Call 055-6259-249 or 053-247-9879. Dewa Afa. And you're still here on Hot Edition on Shri FM 92.7. We'll be bringing you Campaign Trail very shortly. But Martin, there seems to be some good news for midwives and nurses. Am I right?
Certainly, yes.
There's a statement coming from the Ministry of Health titled Public Announcement. And it says recruitment of nurses and midwives. I'll just read that to you. And it says the Ministry of Health wishes to inform the general public that the Ministry of Finance has issued financial clearance to recruit 15,200 nurses and midwives. It has 4 bullet points. First one says recruitment will commence on Monday, 5th August 2024 at 12 noon. It says qualified applicants are requested to formally apply on the Ministry of Health online application portal by logging in onto, and it has the website here, https /HR. So the statement will be published on 3FM online. You can get that website and follow, and then it says follow the instructions to select the preferred agency under the ministry. It says deadline for submission of application is Friday, 23rd August 2024 at 6 p.m. The public is kindly informed the recruitment process is very transparent. Applicants should therefore be aware of any person who may approach them on the pretext of assisting them for recruitment at a fee. The ministry therefore advises all applicants not to make any payment for this process. Whoever pays money does so at his or her own risk. It is signed by Alhaji Hafiz Adam, Chief Director, on behalf of the Minister. Let's get a quick update from the Public Relations Officer for the Ministry of Health, Isaac Ofer. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Good evening to your cherished listeners.
The question is, why now?
Why now is a bit confusing because recruitment is something that we've been doing almost every year.
And if you say almost every year, the concern actually isn't about the fact that the recruitment is actually about taking place, but, you know, its closeness to an election period is what many are questioning, that it's likely that it is to do the bidding of government. How do you respond to that?
That's what I would say. It will be unfair assessment because almost every year, last year by this time, we had some couple of clearance which we recruited. We have some outstanding agreement with Ministry of Finance that we submitted a list of some nurses who are qualified to be recruited. Fortunately, we had clearance and then we have to recruit them. So it will be unfair assessment if we want to say that it's because of the elections that is why we want to recruit. This year, this is not the first time we are recruiting. This is about the second time that we are recruiting. We recruited early this year. And even mid this year, we recruited about 2,500, which even came up for level of discussion. So it will be difficult for us as a ministry to accept the fact that we had clearance to recruit, and because it's an election year, we are trying to bid.
Do the bidding of government. Okay, and how do you okay, so before we even come to this question, we know that over the last few years, and maybe in this month specifically, the last few months, we've had a number of trained nurses who are saying they've not been posted, and because of financial clearance, they are still home. Does this new financial clearance you're getting from the finance ministry include those who have not even been recruited or posted?
When you talk about financial clearance, this is for recruitment. And so it means that it's for people who are not recruited, for them to have access to be recruited and posted to their various districts or where they are supposed to work. So that is basically to recruit people who are not already working as nurses with the Ministry of Health.
Clarity.
And so this is for us to recruit them. And then one thing to accept and to establish that this can be far from assessment in line with the election is because over the years we've been having recruitment clearance to recruit. But looking at the number of nurses that we have now, as compared to what we have been able to recruit so far, we can say that this can never be the first time that we are recruiting between 2020 and 2024. 2022 we did, 2023 we did, and 2024 is about the second or third time that we are recruiting.
So you're obviously dismissing the notion that this recruitment is purposely to make the government look good in the eyes of voters. But I want to get clarity really on the backlog. How many people do you have which have not been employed, out of which you're giving a chance to 15,200?
Yes, so that is an issue. One, we have a little over 5,000 nurses, but we cannot confirm that because most of them had chances to be recruited. There are some nurses who denied postings to places they feel they don't want to be there. And so when you say that you want to recruit 15,000, you may end up that some may not refuse posting to those places. And so we cannot say that this 15,000, when you take 15,000 from this number, this actual number of nurses that you have at home, as we speak, we still have some nurses taking their licensure exams. Some had already finished, I think, last month or so. And so it's going to be difficult for us to say that these are the number of nurses that we have at home. But this particular clearance starts from 2020 badges, those who have not yet been recruited, counting down to 2021, close to 2022.
So we would also want to find out how much clearance you have been given by the finance ministry. How much in terms of quantum of amount?
It will be difficult because they have the variations. Some are diploma nurses, some are certificate nurses, some are degree nurses. So the amount attached to this 15,000, I think that question can be answered by the Ministry of Finance. But we are happy that we've received clearance to be able to recruit some of our nurses to post them to their various places of work, to assist us into achieving the universal health coverage in Ghana.
All right. Thank you for giving us further clarity on this. We'll definitely be engaging you as regards...
And then finally, we want to say that we don't want anybody to say that we are going to pay. We don't need a middleman. That is why we're going to open the portal. So nobody should come to anybody and say that give me some money and I will be able to connect you. That is not going to work. And the Ministry of Health disassociates itself from such practices.
Right. That's a very important point to note. Yes. But thank you so much for speaking to us. Isaac Ofer, he's the Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Health. And it means that in the next 2 weeks, that's the 5th of August, Monday, the 5th of August, you can start applying when the employment portal is open for employment if you want to be a nurse or a midwife.
Indeed. You're still here on a Hot Edition on Shri FM 92.7. Election in the 2020 general election, there were about 17,000 people from Santrofi, Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi Sal Enclave, making the 13 communities who were carved out of the Volta region to the newly created Oti region. The residents have since been left out without a representation in Parliament. 5 residents from Sao petitioned the whole High Court to nullify the election of John Peter Mewu to become MP. Well, after making a late entry into the hearing of the petition, Peter Mewu at the last hearing introduced 3 issues to the case, which the NDC in the region says was a ploy to delay the case. But a ruling delivered by the court today, July 29, indicated that the declaration sought by the petitioners effectively questioning the constitutionality of CI 128, on which the EC relied to conduct the 2020 parliamentary elections.
Right, and still on the campaign trail, a lot has been happening up north. You would recall that over the weekend, the National Democratic Congress launched their campaign, formally hinting the entire nation that they are ready to battle it out with the New Patriotic Party to head and find out who goes to the Jubilee House or leads the country for the next 4 years. Still up north, though, it is not just the NDC that has been busy. The NPP's flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who also happens to be the current vice president, has been crisscrossing a number of constituencies there in the northern part of the country. And we know that the NPP now and its flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, spent the entire weekend campaigning in areas including Timpani, Pusiga and Boko. During his campaign, he accused the NDC flag bearer of performing abysmally while in office, and our correspondents have been following his trail to get exactly what he's been telling the congregants or those who had massed up to listen to him. So let's bring you some specific insights as to what exactly Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has been saying.
So, Kukzai, teacher training allowance, Ukisi, nursing training allowance, Kukisi, Arabic teachers allowance, Kukisi, Hal chok, ba, Sukurne, Dakani. Beula.
Zuna election 2024, Tinyala Tinerbai.
You heard that the vice president.
Right. So, I mean, clearly because politics needs you to speak to the hearts and minds of the people, that's what the vice president was doing, clearly saying that teacher training allowance, which was scrapped by the former NDC government, has been, reinstated, and that payments are being done. Nursing training allowance, the NPP has brought it back and they are doing those payments. So, primarily, that's what he's telling them, that if they promise, they deliver.
Well, in the midst of it, also the battle for who makes it to the Jubilee House come December 7, the Northern region will have its say in which party emerges victorious. Known traditionally as a safe region for the NDC, the NPP's gains have forced the opposition party to refocus its lenses there again. Mawina Egbata has more.
Laced with rich cultural diversity, the Northern region represents one of Ghana's most diverse and unique regions. That variety in people and tradition, however, in the context of elections, has had its loins tied to the National Democratic Congress, handing out presidential victories since 1992. That cozy relationship, however, has seen the warmth fade away, with the NPP pushing through in putting a strain on the romance. The NDC's 53% win during the 2020 election is the lowest since the 2000 election. This is despite the Northern region now split into 3, Northern, Savannah and Northeast regions. With the Northeast and the Savannah regions combined, the party only edges the presidential election with some 54% of the votes, still the lowest since the 2000 election. On the parliamentary front, the NDC's dominance has been wiped clean, split in the Northern region on 9 each, and 1 less seat when the Northeast and Savannah regions are included. The party believes complacency has played a part in their decline.
The NDC have always thought that it is our stronghold.
You've been complacent.
Exactly. It is our stronghold. The people will vote for us always. While the NPP had recognized there is a weaker area and they needed to put in place a certain form of hard work, a strategy to see how they can make inroads.
A reason the party launched its campaign in Tamale. secretary of the party in the northern region, believes they have more than what it takes to regain the lost grounds.
We should be able to win minimum 14 seats, and that is clearly doable. But our target is to win all the 18 seats because they are all winnable. We have mapped up strategies to get out there in the field. Our men are every day on the ground. That is why, if you observe, every genuine survey that is done regarding election 2024 in Northern Region puts the NDC way ahead of the MPP.
But has the campaign launch done enough for the umbrella party?
We were trying MPP to see, and now we tried them. We see that they can't do anything for Ghanaians. So this year, we'll tell them that, yes, we'll vote for NDC.
The way things are going on, we need change. We need change. It's not just about NDC MPP, but any government that comes, but it shouldn't be MPP again.
As we generally say, so we are looking at our situation this time, and then we'll know where to go.
I think still MPP will make a big remark here.
The way the things are, it's like MPP has an edge. The reason being that looking at what they did yesterday, there are no elders among them, and the team was so down.
We are suffering. They can't make it again.
You don't think the NPP has a chance?
No, I don't think so. I don't think. Because the way I'm hearing from my colleagues, I don't think.
For political analyst Dr. Samuel Ifriye, winning the northern region will decide the outcome of the December elections.
Anyone that wins the northern sector probably might win the seat.
Mawina Ekbeta found that report for us, and that's it for Campaign Trail on Hot Edition on Shri FM 92.7. And that's it for Hot Edition here on Shri FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice.
And I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Log on to ShriNews.com for more news. Do have a good evening and enjoy the rest of our programs.
Here's to the friends who dialed *712# and found no regrets.